Okay, this just happened. Breaking news on Capitol Hill. A procedural vote on a funding package to end what is right now a partial government shutdown. Here's your headline. It just narrowly cleared the House. This package includes 5 bills that were written to fund the Departments of Defense, the Department of State, the Department of Treasury, and others. But also the big one. It includes a 2-week extension of funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Of course, the conversation is about how much money should go to ICE. CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us now from Capitol Hill with these late-breaking details. Caitlin, there was some drama behind the scenes of that vote. Take us behind the curtain, friend.
Yeah, Reed, there was some drama indeed. The House Speaker was very confident going into today's vote that they would have all the votes they needed and that this would pass. In order for it to pass, Reed, it has to go through a procedural hurdle. The House first has to vote on the rule over the package, and it was a very tight vote there. The hang-up was over one Republican congressman wanting a measure put in this bill, assurances to vote on an election integrity bill called the SAVE Act. They didn't get that vote. He then flipped and agreed to support this package. Bottom line, Reed, this shows how narrow this House majority margin is, made even narrower yesterday by a new Democrat being sworn into office to represent a district in Texas. So very little margins here, very little room for error here. But by and large, they expect this next vote that will happen in about an hour or so on the full funding package to essentially keep most of the government running while also including a 2-week extension for the Department of Homeland Security. And that is because Democrats said that they will not support longer-term funding for that agency unless there are reforms specifically to immigration enforcement.
It'll be fascinating to see what procedural moves will happen during those 2 weeks, as a lot of Democrats would like a lot of changes where ICE is concerned, not the least of which taking the face masks off. Let's put that one aside and ask about another big headline there on Capitol Hill, of course. What's the latest on Bill and Hillary Clinton agreeing to testify before congressional members in the Epstein matter? They've fought this tooth and nail through their attorneys. Why the change?
They did, Reed. This is huge news that we just learned from the committee that the Clintons have agreed to testify publicly in front of the committee, essentially acquiescing to the committee's demands. They will appear, so far that we know the dates are, the last week of February. The former president will appear separately, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton will also appear as well. This is huge news because, as we've been reporting, as you and I have been talking about, Reed, the Clintons did fight this tooth and nail so far that it got to a likely vote on the full House floor to hold them into contempt of Congress. And if that vote were to have gone through, this was scheduled for tomorrow, that was likely going to pass because you did have, Reed, some Democrats on the committee to vote this out that agreed to hold them in contempt of Congress. So big news here, essentially, the Clintons kind of fighting this 2-pronged battle, not only against the administration, but also, worried the concern about some Democrats who would cross over and vote for it as well. So they are expected to testify in public in front of the full committee the last week of February. That's going to be a huge week up here, Reed, because that's also the week that the president is going to come up here to give his State of the Union address. But insofar as the Clintons agreeing to testify, it is extremely rare to have a former president come up here on Capitol Hill to testify, and that's what we're going to see in terms of the Clintons.
Okay, you'll have your running shoes on that week for sure. Want to also ask you about Democratic Representative Robert Garcia. He's on the Oversight Committee, right? He released a new report on the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. You've read some of that report. What does it have to say?
Well, essentially, remember, this is just coming from the Democrats on the Oversight Committee, but they are alleging, according to this report, that the government, the administration, was essentially covering up for ICE agents in that shooting. And this is significant because Garcia, along with Senator Blumenthal, another Democrat but a senator, are holding this bicameral hearing today in which we are going to hear for the first time in this kind of setting from the brothers of Renee Good, the woman, of course, who was shot by ICE agents in Minnesota a few weeks ago. So that is going to be the first time we'll hear from them, as well as the family attorney. So the bigger picture here is you're having these investigations going on. There still are calls for a bigger independent investigation into what happened in Minnesota. So we're still waiting for details on that. But this is Congress, at least one part of one committee, moving forward with public testimony.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, CBS News congressional correspondent, chasing all the headlines. Thank you so much.